Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, everybody. We are here with more Lori Vallow coverage. Shout out to Iowa, shout out to Flash. So one thing I'll say is this, as far as the Idaho trials go, I feel like a lot of people maybe didn't watch, again, wasn't really watching, was listening to the Lori trial because there was no cameras, right? My personal take is this, though, because I watched both. I actually prefer, in terms of revisiting some of this testimony, the coverage from Lori's trial, because in my opinion, the audio is a lot better. So with Chad's trial, it's like there were cameras, but like both the audio and the video was really kind of not great. And that's being generous. Like it was really hard to hear and you couldn't fucking see anything anyway. And the audio with this is actually really, really, really good, which is really more important, right? It's really more important that you can hear it than that you can see it. And Audrey, to my recollection, did not testify in Chad's trial, but her testimony was really, really interesting. And she had some testimony to offer that we hadn't heard from other witnesses. And there were people at the time, I actually haven't listened to this since the time, but people had a lot of mixed feelings about her. So I thought it would be interesting to revisit this as we go back through Lori's inner circle, as it were. Shout out to Happy Annie, lurking while working. Love it. By the way, we had a lot of fun with you last night. We were talking to you. I don't know if you fell asleep. Happy Annie was here for the movie night on Discord, but we were talking to you and we hadn't heard from you at all. We were like, Annie, we love you. Are you okay? So, and then it turned into like the Michael Jackson song, you know, but anyway, that was a lot of fun. So yeah. So as we delve into the inner circle here, this was some really important testimony. I actually brought this up when we were watching some of the interviews on the last one. And I actually had this, I was like, you know, it might be worth reviewing her testimony. And so here we are, but we still have lots of other ones to go through. I've got the other Melanie Gibb. I've got Summer Shiflet. We've got the 911 call. I got Jason Mao. We've got, there's just still a lot of ones I've got stockpiled, like I said. So it's okay. I don't know if that would have been up your alley, Flash fan, but we're going to do it again. So don't worry. Happy Annie says she did fall asleep but kept waking up at hilarious moments. Love it. I hope it didn't give you nightmares. Hopefully we'll hear from Official and Spencer today, and they can, because they were there for like, Official was there for the entire thing. God bless them. And then Spencer was there for the majority. And we also had a lot of really fun side tangents, as we are wont to do. It was a blast. The dramatic end. So you saw the dramatic ending, right? God, forgive me. Part of my goal is that we'll be able to quote this and you guys will all be on the same page with these quotes and these references because they're freaking hilarious, which is why we're going to have to do it again and make sure that more people join. Because I think some people were like confused, just like what the heck's happening. And I get it. So now that we've done it once, it'll be easier and people can like attest to the fact that it works and like it's a thing. So, and not only that, we can watch other stuff. So I've got tons of stuff that we talked about watching on previous episodes or previous live streams, such as like Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Office. We can watch whatever we want, right? Where we don't have to worry about YouTube. So, right. So not quite. And it's really funny because it's like, Flash has never specified anything regarding this comment on the screen. I just feel like I know him well enough. Just feel like I know you well enough, Flash. Not quite. It's a B movie, so there's nudity, but it's all very funny because it's awful. So I don't know. How does that? It does that. And it's not like the actual thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like nudity. There's like some boobage. There's a butt, you know. But I'll be honest, it's really not quite as much nudity as you might see in movies that are in the theaters. It's not like that, right? I mean, it's not, yeah. It's a B movie. It's so bad it's good type of thing. Mr. Shakespeare, right? I know. So, and there's actually like a little documentary about the room too. We might be able to watch. I don't know if that would count as if I would get in trouble for that. I'll look that up too for people who missed the movie. So I don't know. Let me know. What do you think about that? Okay. Yeah. If you don't care for like any nudity, then probably not up your alley, but it's in the context of it's really funny and gross. So, you know, with like really crazy music. How would you describe it, Annie, since you were there for some of it? let Flash know if you have any other ways that you would describe it. And of course, when Official and Spencer are here, they can weigh in as well, what they think about that. Cool. And I love that. Flash is always down to try new things, which we love. That's such an important thing in life. So, okay. But I'm sure we will talk more about it. Let's jump into some of this testimony. It should be ready to go with CC's.
Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name?
As you can hear, the audio is clear as a bell. Really easy to hear. Really appreciate that. So to me, I'm like, that's fine that we can't see it, but we can hear it. So.
Record.
My name is Audrey Barattiero, AudreyBarattiero.
And what city and state do you reside in?
Gallatin, Missouri.
Literally everybody spells her name wrong because I looked into this in depth and she's spelling it. Hold on.
Barattiero, AudreyBarattiero.
Look, actually, it's on the screen spelled wrong, right? Let me just double check. I feel like I must be losing my mind. Like it has 2 R's, 1 T, and then 2 R's.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Audrey Barattiero, AudreyBarattiero.
And
yeah, not even remotely close to what's on the screen. So I'm surprised from East Idaho News that they have that spelled wrong. Yeah, that's so. I spelled it this way in the description because I assumed that would be correct, but it's not. So.
And what city and state do you reside in?
Gallatin, Missouri.
Okay. Have you heard the name Lori Vallow?
Yes.
How do you know Lori Vallow?
She was a friend.
And how did you first meet her?
I attended a conference, the end of a conference in November 2018, and her home was offered as a place where people could stay.
So that conference, I think you said, was approximately when?
November 2018.
Okay. And you stayed in her home during the conference?
At the end of the conference, yes.
Do you recall who else stayed at Lori's house?
I think Zulema, Melanie Gibb, and there was others, and Chad Daybell was there.
Okay. Do you recall where Chad Daybell slept while he was at the residence?
He slept on the other side of the home.
Okay. Were you able to observe Lori and Chad together during that time?
By the way, Frank
yes and no.
Loved them. Franks, you would have loved the movie night.
No, I observed that every once in a while they looked at each other, or there was like just a, I don't know, kind of a vibe.
A vibe. So your observations with how they interacted, can you expound a little bit more on that vibe? Did they seem flirtatious? Did they seem like they knew each other? They
didn't seem flirtatious, but it seemed like maybe they knew each other a little bit or something.
Okay. And were you aware if they had met previously?
I think that they met in St. George.
Okay. When did you next have contact with Lori?
I believe in February, so about 3 months later or so, and Chad asked me to be her friend.
Okay, so I was going to ask you how that occurred. Can you just explain a little bit how Chad asked?
This is really funny. Chad asked her to be her friend. This is so reminiscent of freaking Wendy Adelson. I cannot. It's another similarity. I'd forgotten this part, you guys. I'd forgotten this part, and it's just so much like this.
Yesterday I was taking a walk around 5. I met a new friend. We went to Tallahassee food trucks.
Wow.
Last night, hung out with her for hours.
Yeah.
Wendy made another new friend. Are you fucking kidding me? Why?
She also Googled. There was a shooting, do you know? Both she and John.
Stop.
Why would they
I'm
Google?
going to die.
Why would that just come
I'm
up?
going. Sorry. Heather says, I met a new friend on a walk. Bitch, how old are you? So I don't know what time it was. It was literally whenever we finished the members only live, which just kind of goes however long it goes. And then it was after that. So I think it was around midnight, but we can always do it without being after a members only live, or we can do a, we can start all that earlier. But so yeah, that it was just after the members only live.
So about 3 months later or so, and Chad asked me to be her friend.
Right here.
So I was going to ask you how that occurred.
Like what? Grown adults, Chad approached Audrey and asked if she would be Lori's friend.
Can you just explain a little bit how Chad asked you?
He asked me to be her friend.
Okay.
And that she
Like what parents do for like preschoolers, right? I mean,
needed a friend, and I said,
weirdness.
okay.
Did he say why she needed a friend?
He said that he couldn't talk to her all the time, and that maybe I could be someone to like uplift her or, be a friend.
Okay.
So Chad goes, would you be her friend? She says, okay, like no questions asked. A certain person who might be more likely to join a cult than others, just saying, no offense. Franks, we missed you. And by the way, Too Fast wasn't there either. And neither was Victorine. And I commented on it many times. I was like, where are our people? Right. I ended up making probably the closest to the edge. Never have I ever, I think, of anybody there. And I was like, where's my peep? Where are you guys? ABC's docket. Welcome. At work. Oh, so lurking while working. We've got many people lurking while working. I freaking love it. You do that. You go, guys.
And you mentioned this occurred in February. Would that have been the February of the next year?
Yes, 2019.
Okay. And when you talked with Chad, how were you talking with Chad?
I was talking with him on the phone.
Okay. So he asked you this over the phone about
Yes.
Okay. And how often would you say that you talked with Lori on the phone after that?
Usually it was every few weeks, but there was times that it was every couple weeks or a week, but for the most part, every few weeks.
Did you get to know each other over the phone?
Somewhat. We talked about more so spiritual things, not as much things going on in personal life stuff.
Okay. And when did you next see Lori in person?
In the summertime
Okay.
of 2019.
Summertime in 2019. What kind of event were you attending at that time?
There was a event that was scriptural based and somewhere in Utah Valley, and I went to that.
Okay. And I just want to back up a little bit. I think you said that Chad asked you to be Lori's friend because he couldn't talk to her all the time. Do you know what that meant?
My impression was that he was trying to keep propriety because he was married.
And this conference that you saw Lori at next, you said it was in the summertime. Where was that conference held?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Where the conference that you attended in the summertime, where was it held?
It was held in Utah somewhere in the Salt Lake Valley.
Okay. And where were you living at the time of that conference in the summer? Do you remember what month it was?
I don't, but I would guess that it was in June or July.
Okay. And where were you living at that time?
I was living in Utah.
Okay. So you lived in Utah and you attended a conference in the same state. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
And do you know where Lori stayed when she attended that conference?
In a hotel.
Okay. Did you spend any time with Lori?
Yes.
Do you recall who else visited with her and you?
Zulema was there, and Melanie Gibb, and there was some other women that I didn't know.
Lemma and Melanie Gibb.
And what did Lori talk about at that time?
I don't remember what was talked about, but at the end of being there, she brought up wanting to work on her husband at the time.
Okay. And do you know who her husband at the time was?
Charles.
At some point, did you go back to her hotel room?
Yes, that's where she brought it up.
Okay. So when you say that she wanted to work on her husband, Charles, what does that mean?
Do you want me to back up a little bit?
Sure.
So at sometime close to that time, when I had seen her again after not seeing her for a long time, she all of a sudden, out of the blue, brought up all of this stuff about zombies and people being possessed is kind of the idea of that. And I hadn't heard of that before.
Right.
And
she made it up.
had no basis for that. And that's why she brought that up in the hotel room, because that was something she was doing herself.
Okay. So let's just break that down a little bit to make it a little more clear. So you mentioned that sometime before this, she was talking about zombies and people being possessed.
Yes.
How was she?
I want to reiterate for anyone who's just now getting here. I know there's no video. This was from Lori's Idaho trial. This testimony is really, 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 I felt like it was really some of the most important testimony from anyone in Lori's inner circle. And it's the only place we get it. We do not have access to any of Audrey's law enforcement interviews. And she also did not testify. To my recollection, she did not testify in Chad's trial. And I was not able to find any clip of that. And I don't remember that happening. I could be wrong, but either way, the audio sucked so much anyway that if she did, it would have been useless. So this audio is really good. So I know there's nothing to really look at except for this one screen, but this is really good testimony that was really controversial at the time and had a lot of people asking questions. And there's some really interesting things that she testifies to that no one else testifies to. So that's why we're revisiting it, because we're going through Lori's inner circle. And this was the only way to get to Audrey's testimony. So
She talking to you about that?
On the phone.
Okay.
I hadn't talked to her in like 3 weeks. And all of a sudden she brought up all of this things she had learned. And it came out of the middle of nowhere. And then she asked my thoughts about it. And I said I didn't have a basis for it. And that made me feel uncomfortable. But she was basically alluding to people, the term, I guess, that eventually she called it was zombies, and that it was people being possessed or having a spirit like connected to them or something.
Okay. And was the spirit good or bad or light or
It
dark?
was supposed to be bad.
Okay.
bad.
So you first heard about this on the phone.
Mhm.
And then when you were at the conference in the summer, she brought it up again?
She brought it up again, yes, in the hotel when the women were there.
Okay. And so when you're at the hotel and you're talking about this, what else happened in the hotel room?
People were just kind of chatting and, just small talk kind of a thing. And then she brought up saying that she wanted to work on trying to get a negative spirit out of Charles. And, but actually I should say at first it was just like everyone started holding hands and I didn't know what they were doing.
Okay.
And I thought maybe
So interesting, because we've heard, now that we've watched all these interviews back to back, this is really helpful because we pointed this out yesterday, the bit about the holding hands. Most people, my recollection was like people were not sure about the holding hands. She's affirming that the holding hands was happening because we heard it in the different interviews yesterday. It was like not sure about holding hands, not sure if they were sitting or standing. So she's saying they were holding hands. We'll see if they get to sitting or standing.
maybe there was going to be like a group prayer or something. And so they all held hands and I joined hands as well, thinking it was going to be prayer. And then she started talking, basically to say that she was going to try to get a spirit out of Charles. And each woman would say something. And then
So what do you recall Lori saying?
I don't remember exact words, but things like knives and fire and like weapons that you would try to use to that kind of an idea.
Okay. And when you were holding hands with this woman, were you standing, sitting? How were you guys
Sitting.
Sitting in the room? Okay. And that was the first interaction that you had with this
So she-
circle or this
She
casting?
confirmed.
Yes, and I didn't know that term
So she confirmed holding hands and sitting.
of castings. And when it got to me, I didn't feel comfortable and didn't say anything. And then as soon as that was over, I left.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to say.
Okay. After this interaction in person with Lori, did your acquaintance or friendship with Lori continue?
Yes, I did.
How did you communicate?
On the phone.
Okay. And were you communicating with Chad Daybell during this time as well?
Yes.
Now, how did you meet Chad?
I met him in a event in St. George. I had never heard of him before. And he was a speaker and wrote books. And someone said, oh, you should go and hear him speak. So I did. And then I bought a couple books.
Okay. And do you know what Chad did for a living?
He was a speaker and an author. He wrote books.
How many books of his have you read?
3.
Okay. At some point, did you have contact with him about his books?
Yes. About 2 months after I had seen him at that time in St. George in 2018, he reached out to me on Facebook to open up communication. And at that time, I asked him some questions I had about his books.
Okay. So
Chad's
who
stupid book.
initiated the contact?
All the stupid books. We got Chad's stupid books. We got Wendy's stupid book. There's other stupid books. Miss Becky's stupid book.
And that was on
Stupid book. No limit.
Facebook. Okay. How would you communicate with him after that?
On the phone.
On the phone. Did you continue to communicate on Facebook or was it just on the phone?
Just on the phone.
Oh no, you didn't.
And what kinds of things would you talk about with Chad?
Religious things.
And you were continuing to talk
Oh,
with
yeah,
Lori.
that was another good one. There was the question about who was it that said that? It was Angel, right? Said, never have I ever had a one night stand. That was a good one. That was a good one. I think it was Angel. Somebody did that one. And then I followed that one up with
Lori.
Yes, about a month and a half or so after he started a conversation, and then he asked me to be friends with her.
Okay. Once you started talking with Lori, I think you said February 2019.
Yes,
What would you talk about with her?
about like religious things or spiritual experiences.
Okay. Do you recall talking to Lori about her move to Rexburg?
Yes,
And do you know where Chad was living at the time?
he was living in Rexburg.
Do you recall talking to Lori in late August or September 2019 about her daughter, Tylee?
Yes, there was a few times in the fall that I asked her how her daughter was doing. When I stayed at her house in November 2018, I met her daughter for a few minutes. And so in the fall of 2019, I asked every once in a while, like, how's Tylee doing? Because she was at college. And towards the end of the friendship, when I asked her how's she doing at BYU, she said that she doesn't talk to me very much these days.
So I think you mentioned you had met Tylee initially at that Arizona conference.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever meet JJ?
Yes, for about 5 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have the opportunity to meet Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I did once.
And how did that occur?
I happened to just be going to Idaho, and Tammy and Garth and Chad wanted to go to dinner. And Garth is one of Chad's sons. And so we went to dinner, and I liked her very much.
And do you know who Tammy was married to at the time that you met her?
She was married to Chad.
Did Chad ever say anything to you about Tammy?
Yes, during the course of the friendship, he said that he had had a near-death experience years before, and that he had been told by a deceased relative that Tammy would pass away before she turned 50.
Do you recall when he told you this?
I would say around the end of January 2019 or in February 2019.
Okay. And at some point, did he indicate to you that he felt he would get married again?
Yes, he did.
Did he tell you who he would marry?
He didn't tell me for a while, but then eventually he said Lori.
Okay. And did he discuss this with you prior to Tammy's death?
Yes.
What were your observations regarding that?
What do you mean?
What did you say to him? What did you...
I asked him if he had talked to Tammy or his children about it, and he indicated that he had talked to Tammy for sure, and I don't remember about the children.
Okay. Now, you mentioned when you talked on the phone with Chad and Lori, you talked about religious stuff, spiritual stuff. Did they talk about other spiritual or religious teachings with you, besides what we've already kind of covered?
Yes.
Did they talk to you about prior lives or probations that Lori and he had?
Yes.
I hope they get
What do you remember?
the Captain Planet part of it all. The Captain Planet bit where the water, fire, whatever else they are, earthquakes and whatnot. Yeah, so Ronnie, that's the thing about one thing that's cool about Discord is you can do the voice thing where you just like hold down the microphone, and that way if you want to like I totally get it when there's stories that are too long to type. Trust me, I know. So totally welcome to do that if that's easier. And yeah.
Remember about that?
He said that he had been Methusula, and he said that he had been an apostle at the time of Jesus Christ, James.
Okay. And do you recall if Lori and Chad indicated a belief that they had been married in previous lives?
Yes.
Do you know what names they claimed to have in that prior life?
I don't remember about the time when he said he was Methusula. I remember that she was somehow around, according to them at that time.
I'll tell you what, if ever there's a name that in my mind generates the connotation of wrath, like WRATH, that name Methusula is that name. Like that name is like wrath. I don't know. That's just my connotation. I have literally no idea who that person or character is in the Bible or Book of Mormon, but it sounds angry.
But I remember that he indicated that they'd been married at that time when he said that he was an apostle.
So you know what's really interesting? Here's something we heard yesterday, guys, was the bit about who was it from? It was from Serena Sharp, okay? That Chad had said he gave this other story about the prior probations. And in this one with the Methusula, this is what I know I'm remembering, that he was Lori's mom. He was Lori's father. So he was Lori's father in a past life and Lori's wife in a past life. And this was dealing with this Methusula fellow. So I wonder if we're going to hear more about this whole thing about Chad being her father. And boy, if this doesn't also have some twin flames overlap with that too. Oh, thank you, Flash. Thank you. Interesting. Was he also wrathy?
Was somehow around, according to them at that time. But I remember that he indicated that they'd been married at that time when he said that he was an apostle.
And he said he was who?
James,
And do you recall who he said Lori was?
his wife. And he said her name was Elena.
Elena or Elena?
Elena.
Okay. At some point, did you move away from Utah?
Yes, I did.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Missouri.
Did Lori come and visit you in Missouri?
She did. She and her niece, Melanie Boudreau, said they didn't have anything else to do and asked if they could come and see the church historical sites in Missouri. They had never seen them.
Okay. Do you remember when that was?
Missouri.
October 2019.
Do you remember if it was the first part of October or later?
The first part.
And you mentioned that Melanie, her niece, was with her. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was anyone else with her?
No,
Did you ever see Tylee with her in Missouri?
I did not.
You mentioned that the reason for their visit was to see some of the church sites.
Yes, they said that they had some free time and wanted to go see the church sites. They'd never seen them before.
Did you visit with them at that time?
I did.
Where did you guys visit?
Well, I'm bummed we didn't get that same story about Methuselah. However, it will be timestamped. I'm almost done with the timestamps from the video from yesterday. And I have not yet gotten to the part because I remember it was towards the end. I'm almost done, but it will be timestamped, by the way, the part where Serena says the bit about Chad being Lori's father. And that was really crazy because everybody that was listening or watching this seemed to not have heard that before. And like, that was news to everybody. So that was kind of like an earth-shattering moment. So that will be timestamped and we will have that done shortly. Again, I'm almost there. So.
We went to a place called Adamandayman and to the temple, and they went to Liberty Jail.
Okay. At some point, did you also go back to their hotel room?
I did.
Did you stay there with them?
I did stay there one night, yes.
Okay. Now I want to talk to you a little bit more about this experience that you had in the conference in the summer in the hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, the first time you'd heard about this idea of zombies and people being possessed. Is that right?
Yes.
And do you remember when you first heard Lori use the term zombie?
Zombie.
I don't, but it would have been in the summertime.
Okay. And do you know what it meant when she was explaining this, if someone was a zombie?
Yes. The idea was like the person was possessed and that there was a spirit in them that needed to be taken out.
Did you ever discuss with Lori or Chad whether someone was light or dark?
Yes.
What did that mean?
Chad had this idea that, I guess, like he would say if someone was light or dark, depending on if like they were predominantly a good person or if he predominantly thought that they were a negative person.
Okay. Did you discuss with Lori people that she believed were dark or were zombies?
Yes.
And who were those people?
She said her husband Charles was, and then later at the end of the friendship, she said that her children were.
Anyone else?
And Tammy.
Okay.
Yes.
And so her children, can you just give me their names again?
Tylee and JJ.
So these included Charles, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. Is
Yes.
that right? Was there anyone else that she talked about being dark?
Yes. Melanie Boudreau, one or two of her children.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back to when you
Melanie
visited
Boudreau.
with her and
For
Lori.
anyone who missed it, Melanie Boudreau, we watched her interview yesterday as well. And that's something that, again, none of us had seen. It was not easy to find. The video was blurred because there's a baby present, but we did watch Melanie Boudreau, aka Melanie Pulaski's interview. And that's from the day after Brandon Boudreau was shot at, right? So that is really early in comparison to the other videos that are available for interviews. So that was one of those things that no one had really seen. And we did watch that yesterday. That is already time-stamped. And anyway, so I just wanted to note that as well for anyone who missed it and is interested in that.
Lori at the hotel room in Missouri. What happened there?
Thing.
They invited me to stay in their hotel room instead of driving back to my house, which was a distance away. And it was going great. And then basically she brought up the idea of working on Tammy.
Okay. And again, when you say working on, what did you guys do?
She said that Tammy had a spirit that was in her and needed to be taken out. And I told her I did not want to help and that I did not want to participate. And she
She's getting emotional, I think, here.
sorry.
It's okay. If you need to get some water.
They always do that, don't they?
She highly pressured.
People get emotional, they offer them water every trial. I mean, I know they don't know what else they can do and they can't really say anything, but it's just so funny because it's like never has water made someone not emotional. Like it doesn't cure, like it's one thing if you're coughing, but like anyway, it's just funny.
If you need to get some water.
Water will stop the tears.
She highly pressured me, saying, "You're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to help me. Like Chad asked you to be my friend." And I reiterated that I didn't want to. And she kept on. And this was later in the night. And I didn't know, I didn't do those things in my own life. And I said that I would say a prayer. And basically, I said a prayer to Heavenly Father saying, okay, I don't know what's going on. If there is something going on with Tammy and it needs to be taken out, I ask for thee to help her. For thine angels to help her. And I asked that she would be able to feel the love of God. And into the prayer.
Okay. And were you holding hands with Lori and Melanie during this
No.
circle? No? Okay. Do you remember what other people were doing besides you during this circle?
They were standing or sitting.
Okay. Did Lori say anything about what needed to happen to this spirit that was in Tammy?
That it needed to be out.
Okay.
At that time, I'd never heard it before. It was, again, at the end of the friendship because I dissolved the friendship. But basically at that time, Chad brought up an idea that, according to him, that if the spirit was in someone's body, that they were somehow being held prisoner. And like an idea of a cage or something, like jail.
And so the first time you participated in something like this was in the summertime in Utah. Is that right?
Yes.
And who was that for?
That was for Charles.
And do you recall when Charles died?
I was traveling in Europe for about a month, and that was in July. So it would have been July 2019.
Okay. And after doing this other work in Missouri on Tammy, do you recall ever hearing Lori express frustration or have an explanation for why someone might have remained dark or why they were doing this multiple times?
Yes, it's like if it didn't work, at least to me, it seemed like if it didn't work, it's like she came up with a new idea. Like it didn't work because of this. Or it just seemed like it was like, oh, it's because of this. And then, oh, there's this other thing. And then, it was another spirit that got in. And it just seemed like it, I don't know, would just keep going and going and going.
Okay. Do you recall receiving a text from Lori saying something along the lines of, well, we did a lot of work today. We got her out, but a new one got in. We're still working on it. Audrey, any ideas you have would be greatly appreciated.
I didn't remember, but I do know, yes.
Do you know what that was referencing?
I believe it would have been referencing Tammy and the idea that she was saying there were spirits that kept, like I mentioned a minute ago, like, oh, it didn't work. So then she would say, oh, another one got in. And
okay.
With what they were doing.
Yeah. Why would Lori have been asking you for ideas or guidance?
I don't know.
Did you have any special knowledge or insight?
No.
When Lori and Melanie visited you in Missouri, did you do any other work other than on Tammy?
No.
And where did Lori say Tammy's spirit was?
She was saying that she was in a cage or a jail or something like this. And it was the idea like she needs to be freed and helped because some person's overtaken her body.
Okay. And so she wasn't in her body anymore.
According to them.
According to Lori. And do you know what would happen if this dark spirit was pushed out?
At the end of the friendship, when I heard Chad Daybell say something to the effect of, why is the body still alive or something like that. I realized that they must have a different idea. Even further.
Even further. And what did that mean?
Oh, that's big time.
That they didn't intend for the person to be helped, I would think. And that they didn't want the person to live.
Guys.
And after you visited with Lori and Melanie in Missouri, did you take a trip later in October?
Here's the thing. First of all, that's the first, and if my recollection is correct, the only person who legit point blank says that they want the person to die physically. Hold on, let's hear that again.
What did that mean?
That they didn't intend for the person to be helped, I would think. And that they didn't want the person to live.
And after you visited with Lori and Melanie in Missouri, did you take a trip later in October?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To Hawaii.
And do you recall about when that was?
Toward the latter end of October 2019.
Okay. Do you recall who picked you up at the airport?
Melanie and Lori.
And where did you stay?
In a hotel.
Who was at the hotel with you?
Lori and Melanie.
What do you recall about your stay in Hawaii?
It was very uncomfortable. Basically, they invited me saying that Melanie was going through a hard time and that she needed a friend.
Yeah, I did not
And I
back
said, I
up.
could be a friend.
Hold on. Did I accidentally fast forward it? I wanted to hear that part again about how they're going to die because that's like really huge testimony. Okay, here we go.
And so she wasn't in her body anymore,
According to them.
according to Lori. And do you know what would happen if this dark spirit was pushed out?
At the end of the friendship, when I heard Chad Daybell say something to the effect of, why is the body still alive or something like that, I realized that they must have a different idea. Even further.
Even further. And what did that mean?
That they didn't intend for the person to be helped, I would think. And that they didn't want the person to live.
And after you visited with Lori and Melanie in Missouri, did you take a trip later in October?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To Hawaii.
And do you recall about when that was?
Toward the latter end of October 2019.
Okay. Do you recall who picked you up at the airport?
Melanie and Lori.
And where did you stay?
In a hotel.
Who was at the hotel with you?
Lori and Melanie.
What do you recall about your stay in Hawaii?
It was very uncomfortable. Basically, they invited me saying that Melanie was going through a hard time and that she needed a friend. And I said, I could be a friend. And when I got there, shortly after getting there, Lori told me that Tammy had passed away, and I didn't know. I asked her when, and she said it had been about a week. I asked her, how did she pass away? And she said in her sleep.
Okay. Do you recall what other kinds of things you were doing in Hawaii while you were there?
We went on a bike ride and most of the time spent time at the beach.
And what did you observe about Lori's behavior while you were in Hawaii?
She seemed agitated and snippy toward Melanie and just different emotions. Other times she would like swing and be like happy, but overall her behavior seemed different. I had not seen her behavior like that. I hadn't seen her much in person, but she had been nice and very, I don't know, but at that time she seemed agitated or, like I said, snippy.
Okay. And now when Chad had asked you to be friends with her because he couldn't talk to her all the time, did you notice anything about her behavior that was related to Chad?
There was times that she would get phone calls and she would leave and go talk and be gone for a long time. And I would just be sitting with Melanie, trying to keep her company. And times when she was happy, it seemed like she was thinking about him, or I think had talked to him on the phone.
Okay. And did you personally talk to Chad while you were in Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that you heard about Tammy's death while you were there.
Yes.
And you heard that from Lori.
Yes.
When did Lori leave Hawaii?
She left Hawaii on Wednesday. I had said that I was going to go home. I didn't tell them this, that I didn't feel comfortable, and I was going to go home. And when I said that I was going to go home, they said, but you just got here. And then Lori said that she was going to leave. And Melanie said that she wasn't ready to go home yet, but that she didn't want to be alone. So when Lori said that she was going to be leaving, then I said, well, I could stay with Melanie so she won't be alone.
And so did Lori leave before you and Melanie did?
She did.
Okay. And do you know if that was planned?
My impression is that the ticket was bought like the same day.
Okay. Do you know where she left, where she went when she left Hawaii?
She said she was going back to Idaho.
Okay. When did you leave Hawaii?
On Sunday that week.
Okay. And where did you decide to go when you left?
Again, I wanted to ideally go home, but I didn't want Melanie to be alone because she was going through a hard time. So I told her that I would fly with her there.
And when you say there?
Sorry, Idaho.
Okay.
And because I was going there so that she wasn't alone, that I would pay my condolences in person to Garth. Because I knew that he'd been very close to his mom. And then also to pay my condolences to Chad.
And so that's why you decided to visit Idaho?
Yes.
Where did you stay while you were in Idaho?
In Lori's condo.
And when you were there, did you observe Lori and Chad together?
I did.
How did they act towards each other?
Very romantic.
Did they physically touch each other?
Yes.
What did you observe?
They were kissing and hugging.
And was that just in the residence, or was there anywhere else that you observed this?
I observed it in the residence.
Okay. And do you recall who else was in Lori's residence in Rexburg when you stayed there?
Melanie stayed in one of the rooms. Okay. Yes.
Was there anyone else there?
No.
Did you see Chad in the residence?
At times, yes.
Okay. Do you know if he slept in the residence?
Sometimes he came back later at night, and so I didn't see him come back. But other times I did, and yes, he did stay.
Okay. And while you were in Rexburg, did you go anywhere?
Yes, we went to the temple.
Okay. Who was with you when you went to the Rexburg temple?
Chad and Lori and Melanie.
Your Honor, may I have just one moment?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions at this time.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rawlings.
Thank you.
Who will be conducting cross? All right, Mr. Archibald.
All right, Mr. Archibald Cross.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Recollection of this is that he's quite rude to her, but I haven't heard this
All right,
since.
Mr. Bailiff, we could have the jurors brought in, please. All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going back on the record on KCR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. The court would note the parties are present, including the prosecutors as well as the defendant and both defense attorneys. The state is continuing with its case in chief at this time. The court would also note the jurors are all present and accounted for, and I believe they have each signed their juror affirmation for the day. Is that correct? All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Thank you again for your continued service and for continuing to follow the court's admonishment. I believe I don't have my microphone working. Okay, that's better. Thank you. All right. Again, thank you to the jurors for your continued service in this case and for continuing to comply with the admonishment each day as you go home. All are in attendance, so the state is continuing to present its case in chief, and I believe has another witness to call this morning. Is the state ready to proceed with their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor, the state will be calling Audrey Barattiero.
Okay.
Wait, what? Did this go back to the beginning of draft?
Simone, let me just inquire
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Audrey Barattiero, AudreyBearattiero.
I'm going to go to
And what city and state do you reside in?
Gallatin, Missouri.
Have you heard the name Lori Vallow?
He had been told by a deceased relative that Heavenly Father saying, okay, I don't know what's going on. If there is something, it was another spirit that got in. And it just seemed like
And after you visited with Lori and Melanie in Missouri,
behavior like that. I hadn't seen her much, so she won't be alone.
and so did Lori leave before you and Melanie did?
She did.
Okay. And
So we
you know
heard
if
all
that
this.
was
I don't know why it's playing direct twice. I'm going to
My
just.
impression is that the ticket was bought like the same day.
do you know where?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So if I take this right, you spent time
Now we're on
with
cross.
Lori and Chad in 5 different states: Utah, Arizona, Missouri, Hawaii, and Idaho. Is that right?
Yes.
And you met them through conferences or religious.
Welcome. We have a new friend. Welcome, Aunt Toots. I do think Lori will testify. I think she has to, because everything she said in her opening statements, the vast majority of it can only come in through her testimony. So she doesn't really have much of a choice, I don't think. I wouldn't have thought so until I wouldn't have had an opinion on it until after hearing opening statements, where a lot, again, because it's like the evidence will show. And then she listed everything out. And a lot of that was stuff that would come from her testimony. So
Seminars. Is that right?
Yes.
And what religion are you?
A member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And what were these conferences that you were going to?
They were about like scriptures and about last days events. And
And how old are you?
I'm 34.
Are you single or married?
I'm single.
And what do you do for a living?
I work remotely for customer service.
Okay. And so you'd go to these seminars to, were they called Preparing a People seminars?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And preparing a people for what?
For like the millennium talked about in scriptures.
Or the end of the world?
Yes.
And the end of the world seminars was something that you were interested in?
I was interested in learning about that subject.
And is that when you were introduced to Chad Daybell and started to buy his books?
Yes.
And these books that you bought from him, were they about the end of the world?
Yeah, they were like fictional accounts of like people who would be like living fictional type.
And did Chad tell you, yes, they're fictional books, but they're actually true?
He said they were fictional, but they were based on some of the ideas in them were based on spiritual experiences or impressions that he or other people had had.
And Chad had talked to you about his near-death experiences. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
And that he had been to the other side, had seen that, and now he's back here writing books about it. Is that what he had told you?
I don't know if he wrote a book about his near-death experience, but he was writing books.
Okay.
He did, right?
And the end of the world, is that something?
Mr. Archibald, so this is again Lori's court-appointed counsel in Idaho, and his strategy was really trying to pin this on Chad. Like these were all Chad's ideas, da da da. And as we know, anyone that followed this, Lori really hated that. Anytime, like there was actually a reference in closing arguments, I believe, where Mr. Archibald says something like about Chad's stupid books, and then Lori got really upset about that, and it was like a whole thing. So anyway, so that's just to give, if anyone who didn't listen to this whole trial, that's sort of the backdrop of wanting to really emphasize Chad's involvement over Lori's. So
Thing that's going to be happy or sad?
All the scriptures talk about it being both.
Okay. And so preparing a people is about preparing for a happy event or a terrible event?
A happy event.
Okay. So what's the point? Why do you need to prepare for a happy event?
Objection, relevance, and argumentative.
Overruled.
What was the question?
What's the point of preparing to be happy when Jesus comes again? What's the point of that?
To be with God and to be with your family and to live among people who want to be with God.
Okay. So what do you need to do to prepare for a happy event?
Be living the commandments and the gospel, doing the best you can.
Okay. So that's the point of these seminars
All those expensive tents and shit.
or conferences that you would go to is how to be happy if Jesus comes again. Is that
Yes.
right? All right.
So he's trying to normalize all this, right? Obviously, and like make it seem like there was nothing weird about these conferences.
And so spending time with Chad and Lori, did you also meet Alex Cox?
I met him once at the end of the friendship
Sorry. Didn't.
And where did you meet Alex?
in Idaho.
Did you ever meet him in Utah?
No.
In Arizona?
No.
In Missouri?
No.
In Hawaii?
No.
Did you ever meet Charles Vallow?
Once.
And what did you think of him?
It was for a few minutes and he seemed nice or pleasant at that time.
Do you remember when that was?
November 2018.
He looked to you like anyone who had a demon or possessed, anything like that?
No, not when I met him.
And so when you did this first prayer group or casting in Utah, I think that was, you said summer of 2019?
Yes.
And so and you had read in the scriptures about castings or getting rid of demons or evil spirits. You'd read about that in the Bible?
Not particularly, but yes, it's in the Bible.
Yeah. Doesn't Jesus cast out evil spirits?
Yes.
So that's in the New Testament?
Yes.
And so you were familiar with that concept of Jesus casting out evil spirits, right?
Yes.
So in these prayer groups, when you and your friends were saying, let's cast out an evil spirit, you had never been part of a prayer circle that had done that.
No.
And was it unusual to you?
It was very sudden and unusual, yes.
Okay. Because you weren't like Jesus in the New Testament. He'd see an evil spirit and he'd cast it out. And that's what you were familiar with, right?
Yes.
So in this situation, some ladies were meeting in a hotel room and asking Jesus to cast out an evil spirit somewhere else, right?
I don't know that they were asking Jesus to.
Who are you praying to?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This is misstating the witness's testimony.
I'll overrule that. I think it goes directly into what direct testimony discussed. So,
Who were you praying to if it wasn't Jesus?
When at that other time when I said a prayer, The method that they were using didn't seem like a prayer.
Okay. So were they calling upon Father in heaven?
No.
Were they calling upon the devil?
Not specifically, but the words that were used were like aggressive things.
And so this is your very first time that you spent with these ladies in a hotel room in Utah in 2019, and Charles Vallow was still alive, right?
Yes.
And they're saying things, and you don't think it sounds like prayers to Jesus. You think it sounds like something else.
I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't like a prayer. Like.
And so were you worried for Charles Vallow at that time?
I didn't know what to think.
Did you call the police?
No.
So did you call church headquarters?
No.
So you just thought, these are ladies, they're being kind of weird? Is that what you thought? Is that a yes?
Yes.
And so if you thought they were a bunch of weirdos, then you'd never want to hang out with them again, right?
Yes. But I thought it was just, I didn't know what to think of it, and that I didn't know about it, and it wasn't my thing personally.
So did you say, hey ladies, this is stupid, let's not do this?
No, I just removed myself. I left right after.
But yet you kept getting together with these ladies, right?
No, I did not know Zulema and Melanie Gibb very well.
So you met them after this, first time you met them again in Arizona, right?
Yes, but I was not in communication with them.
And your communication was mostly with Chad, right?
Yes.
So Chad was the source of all of your information about castings, about evil spirits. Is that right?
I first remember hearing about zombies and that languaging from Lori.
And where did Lori say she got it from? Chad, right?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember one for sure.
Okay. And so these spiritual experiences that their spiritual talks you were having with Chad, did you ever at any time think he's a weirdo, he's leading me astray?
At the end of the friendship, There was questions in my mind.
Weirdo.
So at the end of the friendship, you're talking about November of 2019,
October.
October of 2019.
Yes.
So in the summer of 2019, you were still a fan of his, a follower. Is that fair to say?
I thought that he had information and was doing good things. Yes, at that time.
You went to his seminars, you went to his conferences, you bought his books, you've messaged him on Facebook, you called him on the telephone, and you texted with him, right?
He contacted me on Facebook, but yes, the rest.
So you thought, this is some spiritual leader. I need to follow him. Is that right?
At that time, I thought that he was someone who could help understand.
Yeah, and he's trying to make Chad out into being the real leader of this whole thing.
And because you were following him, is it safe to say that other ladies wanted to follow him too?
That could be the case.
Like Lori Vallow,
Yes.
like Melanie Gibb,
Yes.
like Zulema Pastinas.
Yes.
So when Chad told you about prior probations and prior lives, what did you think of that doctrine?
I wondered if there could be something to it.
And he said that he had been Methusula. Is that right?
Yes.
And who is that?
He lived in the Old Testament and was a prophet.
So Chad Daybell told you, in a prior life of mine, I was a prophet named Methusula in the Old Testament. He told you that.
Yes.
And you believed him.
Yes.
And in another prior life, Chad Daybell told you, I was an apostle of Jesus Christ. He told you that.
Yes.
And you believed him.
Yes.
So that's 2 prior lives. Did he tell you how many prior lives he had?
I don't remember how many he said.
Multiple.
Yes.
Many. Is that right?
Yes.
Over thousands of years.
Yes.
Over millions of years.
Yes.
Oh,
And making Chad out to be the crazy one.
over billions of years?
I don't know.
Long time.
Like, why stop at millions, right? Why would you stop there when you can go on to billions? I mean, am I right? Am I right?
That he was regenerating as all these great people, right?
Yes.
Did he ever say, yeah, one of my prior lives, I was a loser in the 1700s? Ever say anything like that?
No.
Yeah. All of his prior lives, he was someone great, someone cool, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And he said, he told you that his name was James, and he was a friend of Jesus, right?
Yes.
Was he the brother of Jesus named James, or a friend?
I think it was the brother.
Okay. And that Lori had been, in one of her prior lives, she had been Elena, and she had been married to James in a prior life. Is that right?
Yes.
And Chad and Lori, in their prior life, Chad told you that they were friends with Jesus and walked in Palestine with Jesus. Is that
Yes.
right? And Chad Daybell told you that you were married to Jesus.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance and beyond the scope.
Overruled.
Yes, he did.
And so what was your name being married to Jesus?
He said Joanna.
Joanna. So when Chad Daybell told you that in a previous life, your name was Joanna and you had been married to Jesus, what did you think of that?
At the time, I thought it could be true because I trusted him.
You thought it could be true because it sounded cool, huh? Is that a yes?
Yes.
It sounded amazing, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty cool, being married to Jesus. You thought that was pretty cool, right?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
So in your thought process, were you thinking, this Chad Daybell guy is correct. He's really predicting the past. He can probably predict the future too. Is that what you're thinking about him?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled. You can answer.
Can you ask the question again, please?
That was kind of a wordy question. So you thought Chad Daybell is telling me about my past. He can probably predict the future too.
Yeah.
Because he was writing books about the end of the world. He was telling people who they were in prior lives, great people, not losers. And that gave you a feeling of, I'm somebody, right?
Yes.
Why did you move to Missouri?
As a matter of prayer, I just personally felt to.
Is that because Jesus is supposed to come to Missouri?
It wasn't for that reason. I was just praying and following the Spirit for my life.
Do you believe that Jesus, when he comes to earth again, is going to come to Missouri?
Objection. Her beliefs are irrelevant.
That's sustained. You don't need to answer that question.
Did Chad tell you that? That Jesus is going to come to Missouri?
That is a belief of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That Jesus is going to come to Missouri when he comes back to earth. He's not going to come to Jerusalem. He's going to come to Missouri.
Right, Spencer?
That's what Chad told you, and that's what you believe.
Objection. Again, her beliefs are irrelevant.
Sustained. Don't answer that question.
Now, when you talk about going to Missouri to see church historical sites, what do you mean by that?
Like places that the pioneers had been in Missouri.
And the pioneers, you're talking about who?
The pioneers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Those are people who lived in the 1840s.
Yes.
They were kicked out of the state of Missouri. Is that right?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Those are facts, not in evidence.
Sustained.
So which church historical sites did you visit?
Adam on Diamond, and they went to Liberty Jail, and I don't know if they went to any others.
So what does Adam Undai Amen mean?
It means a place where Adam lived.
Adam, as in Adam and Eve of the Old
Yes.
Testament. He lived in Missouri in a place called Adam Undai Amen.
Yes.
All right.
Wow.
And then you went to, you say, you went to the temple in Missouri with Lori and Melanie Bedreau. Which temple is that?
The Kansas City Temple.
And then you went to Liberty Jail. What are you talking about when you say that?
Liberty Jail is a place where Joseph Smith was in jail.
Joseph Smith, so he's the founder of the Mormon religion. So as for the Psy affidavit, I'm wondering if what Denise is referencing, there was another thing dropped. Where is it? It doesn't say that it's an affidavit. Where is it? Just 1 second here, guys. It does. There is something that says it's an exhibit for AT&T. Where is it? Here it is. Exhibit 4 in support of their objection to the state's motion to eliminate AT&T Time Advance Records. So it's an exhibit that this was just filed right after the hearing. So they did file another exhibit, but it doesn't say affidavit, and I'm not seeing anything else new there regarding like an affidavit or anything. But that might be what she was referencing, maybe.
And why is that significant?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Well, it came up indirect, so I'll overrule that for now, but it does need to go towards a relevant point, Mr. Archibald.
You said you went there for a church historical site. That's a place where Joseph Smith was in jail while being punished by the people in Missouri. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And then in October of 2019, when you're in Missouri, you were with them when they did another casting. This time not with Charles, but with Tammy, right?
Yes.
And so this casting in this hotel room, you and two other ladies.
Now, I will say real quick, the state does have a supplemental affidavit that they filed, but that's for the inconclusive data, and there is actually a long document there. I didn't think y'all would want to go over it, but we can. But the state did file a supplemental affidavit that was just on the 7th, but it hadn't posted yet. That was actually referenced in the hearing when they said the state had just filed something else that had to do with the inconclusive data for DNA.
What do you do? You say you prayed to Jesus. Was there other prayers to Jesus to get rid of evil spirits in Tammy?
I guess I don't know what you mean. I said a prayer to Heavenly Father, and saying that I didn't know what was going on or if there was something.
Okay.
But that He would help.
You wanted to help Tammy.
Yes.
And you believed that saying a prayer to Heavenly Father would help Tammy get rid of her evil spirit.
But if there was something going on that God knew, and asking for Him to help, if there was something.
Okay. And so were you and Lori and Melanie holding hands similar to what you did in the Utah hotel for Charles?
No, I don't think so.
Now, sometime during the summer of 2019, you also heard the term zombies. Had you ever heard that before, other than in scary movies? And did that term come from Chad Daybell?
I don't know who it came from. At the time, it seemed like it came from her.
Okay. And did Lori say this is something that Chad has taught?
I don't remember her saying that.
And how about the light or the dark scale? Had you heard of that before?
No.
And is that something that came from Chad Daybell?
Yes.
And that was his way of predicting if you're good or if you're bad. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that also a way of predicting if you're gonna live or die?
No.
Okay, it was just good or bad.
Yes.
Right. And what was your score?
I don't remember.
Was it a good score?
Yes, it's like good. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chad Daybell said you have a good score.
Yes.
You don't remember the number, but you remember thinking, "Oh, that's good."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So all of these times that you were doing castings for Charles and then Tammy, did you ever think someone is in danger? I better call the cops.
No, not until at the end when I dissolved the friendship and I felt like I could be in danger.
So you dissolved the friendship when?
When I left Idaho.
Okay. So you'd been to Utah with them, Arizona, Missouri, Hawaii. During those 4 states, hanging out on the beach, going to seminars, you didn't feel like this is weird. You were okay with it.
Hanging out on the beach?
Didn't you guys go to the beach in Hawaii?
Yes. I didn't think that was weird hanging out at the beach.
Well, yeah, they were friends. You were having fun with your friends on the beach in Hawaii, right?
Yes, but it was uncomfortable because they were talking all the time about zombies and about Melanie's kids.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
weird.
so you felt so uncomfortable around them after Hawaii that instead of going home to Missouri, you went to Idaho with them.
I wanted to go home to Missouri.
But they made you buy a ticket to Idaho instead of Missouri.
No.
Okay.
But I have a big heart. And I didn't want Melanie to be alone because she said she was going through a hard time.
Because you were a friend. You were a friend of Melanie Boudreau, right?
I had only met her briefly before that. Like the first time I met her was when she came to Missouri. But as I said,
Yeah.
I have a big heart and try to help those around me.
Yeah. And that's what a friend does, is you wanted to help your friends, right?
Until I didn't think they were friends.
Yeah. And that's why you went to the Rexburg Temple in Idaho with Chad and Lori and Melanie. It's because they were your friends, right?
They asked me if I wanted to go anywhere, and I said I wanted to go to the temple.
And the temple is a place where you can worship God.
Yes.
And be with your friends.
To serve others.
Yeah. And that's why you went to the temple with them, right?
The temple is a place of peace.
Yeah. And so when you went to the temple with Chad and Lori and Melanie, that could have been why they went to the temple too, right?
It could have been.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that'll conclude the cross-examination then.
Now, the
So-
redirect, I think, is
Redirect.
where some of the crazy
briefly.
stuff comes out, if I recall.
Audrey, you want to clarify some things. I think council asked you if you were in 5 states with Chad and Lori. Chad wasn't with you in Hawaii, right?
That's correct.
And he wasn't there in Missouri.
No, he was not.
And so when you were participating in these castings or these circles or however we want to describe them, whose hotel rooms were they taking place in?
Theirs.
And when you say theirs,
Lori's.
so it was Lori's.
Yes.
And she was the one who talked to you about that, right?
Yes.
And she's the one who told you the person that the casting needed to be done on, right?
Yes.
She organized it.
Yes.
She picked the target.
There we go.
Yes.
Now, the one on Charles in Utah, I think I asked you if you heard that he died later. Is that right?
Yes.
He was killed.
Yes.
And then there was one casting conducted on Tammy, right?
Yes.
And then she died.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think, well, I mean, they were working on their own doing those things.
Yeah. I think defense counsel kind of asked you about this friendship and why you terminated it, and you said that you were scared or in fear. Why was that?
Because of a conversation.
And who was the conversation with?
Lori.
This is the crazy part. This was able to come in because it's on redirect. Guys, listen to this.
Did she make threats to you?
She did.
What did she say?
No.
What threats did she make to you?
Your Honor, I think this is
She threatened to kill me.
I'd object.
Bro.
Hold on, sir. That came up on cross-examination, so it's within the scope of cross and proper redirect. Ms. Rollins, you can re-ask the question.
What's the time and place of this conversation?
And I think, Audrey, you indicated this was when defense counsel asked you why you ended the friendship, and that was in what month?
In October 2019.
Okay.
Yes, I had already made plans to leave because I prayed about it and I felt like I needed to leave and end the friendship. And I was leaving early the next morning. And Lori and I were the only ones in her place at the time. And I told her that I was going to go upstairs and pack my bag and just go to bed early because I didn't want to spend more time with her. And as I went to go and do that, I asked her the question, is there anything weird going on that I don't know about? And she said, no. What do you mean? And I said, I don't know anything. And she said, no. So I took her to word because I'm a trusting person. And as soon as I turned to start to go up the stairs, she started laughing, the kind of laugh as if you're laughing at someone or think something's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, you're so naive and too trusting. You're like a little child. You'll believe anything anyone would tell you. And she said, you think the world is all unicorns and rainbows. You go around helping people and serving them. Well, I've got news for you. Not everyone's a good person. And not everyone can afford to be so nice and kind. And then she said that
So I want to just focus on what threats she made to you.
she threatened to kill me.
Okay. Did she say how?
Yes. She said that she would cut me up.
Wow.
Something about that she wasn't in the mental place to do that, but that she would get herself in that place to be able to do it.
Wow.
But that she didn't want to have to because it'd be so messy and there'd be so much blood and then bleach and something about trash bags. And that she would bury me where no one would ever find me.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So I'm going to play this again on normal speed. This is crazy. And the thing is this is very reminiscent of Tylee, right? Wow. Okay. So also for anyone who's asking about why we're not seeing her, there was no cameras allowed in the courtroom for this trial. So everybody was audio only, but the audio is really good. So let's hear this again on normal speed.
To laugh as if you're laughing at someone or think something's hilarious. And she said to me, you're so naive and too trusting. You're like a little child. You'll believe anything anyone would tell you. And she said, you think the world is all unicorns and rainbows. You go around helping people and serving them. Well, I've got news for you. Not everyone's a good person. And not everyone can afford to be so nice and kind. And then she said that
So I want to just focus on what threats she made to you.
She threatened to kill me.
Okay. Did she say how?
Yes. She said that she would cut me up. Something about that she wasn't in the mental place to do that, but that she would get herself in that place to be able to do it. But that she didn't want to have to because it'd be so messy and there'd be so much blood. And then bleach and something about trash bags. And that she would bury me where no one would ever find me.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hollings.
I'll recross on that.
You may, Mr. Archibald.
Recross real quick.
So this diabolical conversation that you're having with Lori in October of 2019, was this in Idaho?
Yes.
You'd been with her previously in October of 2019 in Missouri, right?
Yes.
You'd been with Lori previously in October of 2019 in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
And then you followed Lori from Hawaii to Idaho in October of 2019, right?
Yes.
And then you decide it's time to go home to Missouri.
I'm sorry. I didn't follow her. I did not follow Lori.
Okay. You just happened to go from one state where you were vacationing with her to her place where she lived. But you're saying that's not following.
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
So this conversation in Idaho is before you go to the temple or after you go to the temple?
After.
And so you're saying she starts laughing and talks about unicorns and rainbows and that she would cut me up and put me in trash bags.
So, yeah, she mentioned trash bags.
Why?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Did she ever say, I killed my kids and I'm going to kill you too?
Objection beyond the scope.
Wow.
Overruled.
No, I knew nothing about her children.
Right. Did she say, I killed Charles and I'll kill you too?
She didn't talk about Charles.
Nothing like that, right?
She brought up being at the scene, watching someone take their last breaths.
And you have
Wow.
previously testified under oath, swearing an oath that you'll tell the truth. You have previously testified at a grand jury hearing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember taking an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember your testimony that you did not
That's interesting. I wonder if Lori got that thing from him because she's been doing this with all the witnesses.
say anything like this?
I was scared. And she had said that if you ever tell anyone, I'll come and find you in the dark of night.
So you now want the jury to believe that even though you previously testified under oath and nothing of this sort was talked about, that you come here today and say you are so scared, that's why you didn't previously testify about it.
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
It's overruled.
What was your question?
You want the jury to believe that you just didn't make this last crap up,
Wow.
I did not make it up.
but you acknowledge that you did not say this when you previously testified in support of probable cause, right?
Yes. Chad
Okay,
and Lori.
thank you.
Oh, fuck.
Your Honor, can I just ask one follow-up question?
Oh.
No, Ms. Rawlings, that's
Oh, she wanted to do a redirect and he's saying no.
been through a redirect and recross, so that'll conclude the
Interesting.
testimony of this particular witness.
All right.
All right.
Okay. That's it for this one. So we're gonna go into the 911 call. So Alex Cox's 911 call made on the day that Charles died. But real quick, I wanted to say that I have no idea what's up with his voice. It sounds like that the entire trial. And then also, I just wanted to review proper neti pot technique for anyone in the chat using neti pots. You want to make sure that you're using either distilled water or boiled water, first of all. You want to make sure that it is body temperature. So if you're using boiled water, you want to let it cool to like body temperature. So that may not necessarily be room temperature, right? Body temperature. And you want to make sure that you fully dissolve whatever you're using. I recommend the Xlear
packets. It's spelled XLEAR. You want to make sure you fully dissolve it and that you have the right, you follow the instructions for the right ratio. And that's pretty much it, but that's the important thing. And then also that your neti pot is sterile. So distilled water / boiled water, body temperature, clean neti pot, fully dissolve whatever you're using in the neti pot. And that's pretty much the most important things for successfully using and safely using a neti pot. Welcome, Victorine. Right? I know she dropped bombs all over. She surely did, Spencer. She surely did. Yep. So that's why I wanted to review that, because Audrey we don't have any access to any of her interviews, and that testimony is full of bomb, like Spencer said, right? It's just really explosive. So that's why I wanted to go back and review that from Lori's Idaho trial. Okay, so now this is the 911 call of Alex Cox after shooting Charles Vallow in what they claim is self-defense. Let's just get our closed captioning on.
20 minutes,
All right.
19 seconds.
911, where is your emergency?
Hi, I need an ambulance to.
Redacted.
Yes.
Why do you need an ambulance?
I have a older male, a middle-aged male.
Oh, just kidding. It's not Alex.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing.
Okay, let me transfer you or the medics. Do not hang up.
Okay.
Who the fuck is calling?
Is this due to a
Fire and medical, what is the address of your emergency?
Go over with it.
Caller, are you on the line?
Oh, it is Alex. Interesting.
Hello, is
Hello?
anyone there?
Yes, this is it. I'm here.
Okay, you're for.
This is Alex. That sounds. I was like, I thought it was Alex. I was like, it's weird because the way he says I have an older male here, like what? Anyway, it's him.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what is the emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
Okay, is he awake
Are you
right
breathing?
now?
I think he's passed out.
Okay, you think he's unconscious?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. This is the 911 call the day Alex Cox died. How the heck did this get? Hold on. Okay. This is still interesting though, because his circumstances were very suspicious. Never mind. Okay. Let me try to find what I'm looking for here. But this is the 911 call for Alex dying. Okay.
Is he breathing normally, like you can see his chest rising and falling?
So this is
Hello?
Alex.
I hope so.
I have the paramedics on the way, but I need you to try to help me with some information while they're driving there to help him. Okay?
Okay.
How old is he?
He seems to be in his 40s.
Okay. Do you know him?
No, it's my mother's boyfriend.
Okay. And how old are you?
This is Zulema's son.
I'm 25.
Okay. I have the paramedics on the way, so he's in the restroom right now.
Okay.
Gilbert, can we get you started?
I'm already en route.
All right, thank you. Okay, is he on his back or on his stomach? Where is he at?
He's on his side.
Okay. Can you lay him flat on his back on the ground?
Interesting.
I'll try. It's just there's feces there, and I'm trying to
Welcome,
just
Gwennon.
cool right now.
Yeah.
You said he's what?
There's feces on the ground.
Okay.
Wow.
I know that's gross, but if we can just go ahead and get him flat on his back, I want to make sure he's breathing, because if he's not, we're going to do a few things.
Gotcha.
Did you say he's cool, like cold?
Right?
Alex.
Okay, so just to reiterate, so this is Zulema's.
Alex, we gotta get you on your back.
This is Zulema's son, who's calling. Okay, and remember, he had just married Zulema.
Does he seem more awake or more asleep?
He's more passed out.
Okay, is he opening his eyes or moving at all?
He's breathing.
Okay, is he breathing normally, like his chest is rising and falling? He's not making any weird sounds?
Yeah, he's making a very exhale sound, like.
Okay, if he's doing that, we need to start CPR, so I need you to get him flat on his back on the ground.
Okay. I'll do that.
Let me know when he's flat on his back, and we're going to give you instructions, okay?
Okay.
What is your first name?
Redacted. Redacted.
Okay.
I don't think I could do that, man.
I know this is difficult, but you're only helping him, okay? I know, the
I
paramedics.
don't think I could
What
do
is
that.
your
I have
name?
Anxiety and depression.
Okay, what's your
Anxiety
name?
and depression. I can't.
Wow. I have anxiety and depression. I can't do it.
What is your name?
My name's Joseph.
Joseph? Okay, Joseph. The best thing for us to do for him right now is to...
Redacted.
So if you'll just take... I know it's not ideal, but you're doing a really good job by helping him if you can do that, okay?
Oh. Yo, Alex. Alex. He's not breathing. No. No, he's too big.
Okay, just try to get him on his back so we can do...
So this 911 call is Zulema's son calling 911 when they found Alex Cox dead, Lori's brother, right? Who did the murder. Well, yeah. So this timing was suspicious. The situation was suspicious. His death, though, was ruled to be natural causes. I personally have questions about that, but this is Zulema's son on the phone with Alex there on the floor.
Do chest compression.
My mother just got here.
Okay, give her the phone then.
Oh, wow. And by the way, we watched Zulema's interview just yesterday with law enforcement. So
Did she say the mother just got there?
Yeah.
Come here. Come here.
And we're coming on Mineral right now.
Really
we're
bad.
almost there.
It's really bad. Come upstairs. In the bathroom. We need to get him on his back.
Can you put your mom on the phone?
She's right here. You're on speaker.
Okay, ma'am, the paramedics are pulling up, but in the meantime, we need him to get flat on his back, and we need to give him chest compressions, okay?
Chest compression. Wait. But
Does she know how to do CPR?
yes. She knows how.
Okay.
How far are you?
We're pulling up out front right now, so they're grabbing their equipment and they're coming in. Are you on the first floor or the second?
We're on the second floor.
Second floor in the bathroom?
Yes.
Okay, and the door is unlocked?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, do you see the paramedics now?
Yes.
Okay, Joseph, you did a good job. I know that was really scary, but thank you for your help, okay?
Joseph,
Okay,
before you hang up, Joseph, before you hang up, I need your last name.
that'll be redacted.
Okay.
Joseph, let the paramedics do their business and tell me what your last name is.
Yes, Twiz?
Lopez.
Joseph, what's your last name?
Lopez.
Okay. And what's your date of birth, Joseph?
Redacted.
No.
Okay. All right.
He's saying he doesn't know his name?
Do you let the officer in?
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to let you go. Bye-bye.
December 12th, 2019, 15 hours, 27 minutes.
That's the end of that one. Now I have the one I thought I was playing initially. This is the 911 call of Alex calling, okay, after shooting Charles, okay?
911, where is your
Here we go.
emergency? It's at 5531 South Four Peaks. I think it's Four Peaks Lane, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, you say you don't know the direction?
I don't know the street name, if it's a lane or court.
It's 5531 East, though?
Yeah, or south. South Four Peaks.
5531 South Four Peaks in Chandler. Is that right?
Yes.
You need
Yes.
police or paramedics?
Both. I'm in police and an ambulance.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Okay, let me get the medics on the phone. And is he hurt or is he alive or?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
How long ago did this happen?
A couple of minutes.
Fire department, what is the address of the emergency?
5531 South Four Peaks.
And is that a house in Chandler?
Yes.
And your phone number, please?
480-351-9120.
And just repeat the address to confirm it.
5531 South Four Peaks.
And what is the emergency?
I shot my brother-in-law.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In the chest.
I'm sorry, where?
In the chest.
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Okay, is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Okay, are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
Okay, do you just let me know if you see his chest going up and down? How old is he?
It's not moving. He's 60.
Okay, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Now,
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you're going to
remember, we know that this never happened, that he never did CPR. And it's really interesting, right? The karma, if you will, of how Alex doesn't actually do the CPR. And then when Alex is apparently still breathing and still alive, the person who found him and called 911 didn't do CPR on him, right?
put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yeah.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Making sure his chest goes up between each compression. Where's the gun now?
It's in the other room.
Okay. PD, we're going to stage for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just keep going with those compressions.
He's doing a better job of faking it than Sarah Boone.
Did you have any other questions?
Yes, what's your name, sir?
My name is Alex. Last name is Cox, C-O-X.
And where are you in the house now?
In the living room.
And where is the gun?
It's in a bedroom.
Who else is there in the house with you?
Just me.
What gun is it? Was it
It's my gun. It's a 45.
a pistol? 45 caliber pistol?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's his name, your brother-in-law?
Charles Vallow.
His last name, I'm sorry?
V-A-L-L-O. Vallow.
V like Victor or G like George?
V like Victor.
Okay. Well, police and medics are on the way to help you.
Thank you.
Are you still doing chest compressions with him?
Yes.
Okay, just keep pushing down hard and fast in the center of his chest. How long ago did this occur? Did it just happen?
Yeah, maybe 5 minutes before I called.
Okay. Just make sure you're still pressing down at least 2 inches into his chest, and it comes up with each compression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yes, Spencer. Mm-hmm.
1,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, were you guys arguing when this happened?
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said there's nobody else there, just you and him, correct?
Correct.
So Lori, remember at this point, has the kids and she's going to Burger King to get the chicken fries for JJ.
Could you just let us know when it's secure?
Certainly, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Right.
And was he armed also, or just you, or what happened there?
Yeah, he came at me with a bat.
Anyone been drinking or doing drugs or anything today, or no?
I don't know, but I've never seen him that enraged before.
Oh boy.
Does he live there with you, or where does he live?
No, he lives in Houston.
He's what, married to your sister? Is she? Where is she?
Correct. I don't know. I think she's taking her son to school.
Questions? You still doing that? Is there anything? Any response from him? You know?
He's not responding at all.
Some officers should be there. Let me know when they get inside to you. Is the front door open?
Yeah. It's unlocked.
Okay. Can you come out, walk outside with your hands empty? Sure. Are you able to do that with your hands up and empty?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your front door, right?
Yeah. No weapons on me. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So remember, all the testimony at trial was like no signs of.
No one else is in the house.
Have a seat right there.
Yep.
Get FD in here.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Got some ID on you, sir?
Oh, you came with me with a bat?
Where does it
No. You came to pick up his son.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on, guys. I've got plenty more here. Hang on. We're not going to do this one right now, I don't think. Let me find this. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to do. I'll let y'all vote. Do y'all want to watch Kay Woodcock talking about her testimony from just the other day? Or do y'all want to watch Summer Shiflet, which is Lori's sister, speaking out after Chad's verdict and sentencing? And she's not spoken out a whole lot. So Summer Shiflet, Lori's sister, or do y'all want to watch Kay Woodcock talk about what it was like to testify on day 4? Because I'm thinking after that, I'll peek over and see if the trial has started and see what's going on with those first witnesses for the day. Oh, wow. Are you okay? Is everyone okay? Officials says they just had an earthquake. He tased, it was actually many years prior. It was a different husband he tased. He tased Joe Ryan, Lori's third husband, like 8 years prior, maybe, if I had to try to remember. So y'all let me know if you want to watch Kay Woodcock talking about her testimony from day 4 or Lori's sister speaking out after Chad's sentencing. I have other options, but those are just 2 that I feel like might be good timing wise to check in on the trial for today. Okay, I'll make an executive decision. We'll do Kay Woodcock out that. So this is with Justin Lum. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Justin Lum, he's like the Nate Eaton of Arizona, basically.
Best way to kind of describe that. So he's been on this case since the beginning, and this is with him. So shout out to Justin Lum. So we'll just take a look at this. And she's going to be interviewing. They're going to interview her. So
time in her life. This time, her mission was to get justice for her brother, Charles, already accomplishing that for her grandson, JJ Vallow, in 2023 and 2024. But this moment she's been waiting for a long time, facing off with her nemesis, Lori Vallow Daybell, the pro se defendant accused of plotting Charles's death. Kay takes us inside her testimony. I'm Justin Lum, and we are on the record. What a week of trial it has been in the Lori Vallow Daybell case, and I am joined by some special guests right now. I've been waiting to talk to this family. We are speaking with Kay Woodcock, Charles Vallow's sister, Jerry Vallow, Charles Vallow's brother, and Susan Vallow, Charles Vallow's other sister. You guys have been through such a journey. First off, I want to start off with Kay. How are you feeling coming off yesterday's testimony? Everybody's eyes were glued to the screen when you were taking this.
Give a vote for Lori's sister. All right. Since you're the first one to weigh in, we're going to do that instead. Give me just 1 second. Let me pull that up. We will totally do that. We'd like to make things happen here, right? So when Scroll Crew asks, ask and you shall receive. So, okay. Okay, so we're going to see Nate Eaton here instead. Excellent.
Hi, everybody. Nate Eaton here with EastIdahoNews.com, chatting with Summer Shiflet, who, big news today.
Big news.
Chad Daybell sentenced to death.
Yes.
Your thoughts, your reaction?
I don't think
my reaction is I didn't think that I had an expectation. I thought I was going to be fine no matter what the verdict was. I appreciate the jury and their work and effort. But when I heard them say those words, it was everything I needed to hear. I just appreciated so much that Tylee and JJ's deaths, that there was going to be a consequence for how horrible they were treated.
Do you think that have you thought if death penalty was an option for Lori, that maybe she would have gotten that too?
There you go.
Very much so. Yeah. I don't know if she would have or not. I know the juror you interviewed said she wouldn't have done that. I don't know. It's hard with the mom. Right. But definitely a possibility.
What have been your thoughts watching the trial over the past 8-9 weeks?
Eye-opening. It's been so interesting to me how contrived Chad has been in his life and how he's isolated so many people for his own gain.
Let's talk about Lori. And
are you okay with this?
Do you know, is she aware of the verdict? Have you heard?
I don't know if she's aware of the death penalty verdict or even the guilty verdict. I'm not sure if she knows that, but I kind of let her know that Chad was throwing her under the bus. So she was aware of that.
Did she have a response?
Her response is pretty much, you don't understand and you'll see someday.
Right.
She's very much in her delusion and doesn't accept the reality of what's actually going on. In her mind, I don't think that she even thinks that there were any murders that occurred.
Wow.
Do you think that Chad is in a delusion, or that Chad truly believes all these religious things?
No, I don't think Chad has one religious belief. I think he is, I don't know if he can help it if he was born this way, but I think he is completely void of all empathy, regret, of accountability. I think he has manipulated his whole life and learned to fake it. And a lot of manipulators use religion to get their way.
So what I'm hearing from her is that Lori, her perspective being Lori's sister, is that Lori is delusional, whereas Chad is essentially a manipulating sociopath, basically paraphrasing.
So I think that's what happened.
And that's what he did to Lori. I mean, everybody, a lot of people are like, who was leading who? Chad, Lori, and the prosecution over the past 8 weeks has tried to prove, and obviously did prove, that Chad was the leader. Lori would go to Chad. Melanie would go to Chad. I mean, people would go to Chad for answers.
Yeah,
and you think that he did that?
I think, and this is my opinion, but my opinion is Lori started her delusional disorder, and that's what made her susceptible to Chad's. I think he saw this beautiful woman who had these ideas, and he took them and ran with them and learned how to manipulate her to get his way. But
Chad's fault.
The mastermind of things, I mean, who isolated who? Chad isolated Lori and Alex and Tylee and JJ. Then he got rid of Tylee and JJ. Then he eventually got rid of Alex. And then it's just him and Lori. He was still
I mean, her languaging is really interesting here. He did it. He did it. He did it.
In contact with his family. He was still in contact with his friends, but Lori had been isolated from everybody that she knew and cared about her. So I'm not saying
interesting.
She's completely faultless. I'm not making excuses for her part or behalf of anything like that. I hold her accountable. She was their mother. It was her job to protect Tylee and JJ. But I see the pattern of a manipulator in that Chad was the one who wanted them gone. And I don't think Lori's delusions weren't ever talking about light and dark or anything like that before Chad came into the picture. So to me, it's Chad's the leader in that.
So we're here at CrimeCon in Nashville, and you just spoke before thousands of people. We talked about this very issue and what the effect it's had on you. And you were asked, a couple of questions from the audience, who obviously has been following every detail in this. What was it like to speak publicly in front of a large crowd right here in Nashville, Tennessee?
Well, everybody here has been actually really kind to me and supportive. And so it felt comfortable talking to them. But it's also nerve-wracking because my last interview was in 2020 and it did not go well, and I did not get a lot of support.
Because you stood up for Lori.
I did.
I think she's referencing being on the Netflix documentary.
Lori had been arrested. The kids were still missing. You went on national TV and said she's a good mom. She wouldn't do anything to hurt her kids.
Right.
Your mom did too.
And I knew that they weren't missing to her. She wasn't saying they were missing. She knew exactly where they were the whole time. So for me, it wasn't a...
You mean in Chad's backyard? Is that how you're rationalizing this? Oh God.
Matter that these kids are missing when she knows where they are. If she didn't know, then I would be like, oh my gosh. But
oh God.
She knew. So she's reassuring me, telling me that they're...
Knew they were dead in Chad's backyard. What's nothing wrong with that?
Safe, and that she's, you know what kind of mother I am, and I've always taken care of my kids, and I have seen her do those things. So to me, it was natural to defend her at the time.
Do you think that Lori will ever realize? Well, I guess I should back up. There are people who say she's faking it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are people who say she truly knows and it's a front. You don't believe that?
Nope, not even for a second. It is 100% delusion. She is not the same person. She doesn't respond. You can't crack it. You can't break through. Meryl Streep isn't that good of an actress. Like, she's solid in her beliefs. Her reality is as real to her as our reality is to us. And so she's in that delusion, and she does not think that she has any mental problems. She does not want to be in a hospital. She wanted to go to trial. She'd rather be in jail than the hospital for whatever her reasons are. I still don't understand that, but that's what she wanted. She wanted to go to trial. I begged her not to. She did it anyway, and this is the result. She's not faking it.
And she still stands by Chad Daybell.
Yeah, I believe so. She doesn't ever mention his name to me, but she has a certain way of talking around that makes me believe that she's still 100% a supporter of Chad. And if she was not in jail right now, I would still be kind of out of her life, and she would be off with him.
You believe that they'd still be living their life together and isolated from everybody, as you said.
I do. Well, he wouldn't be, she would be.
Right. What about Alex? Let's talk a little bit about Alex.
Okay.
Your brother is not here anymore. Was he, well, first of all, how do you think he died?
Good question.
So personally, when the police came to my house, they came to my house on December 17th of 2019 to do a welfare check on Tylee and JJ. And I had a conversation with them. And then...
Wait, what? What? The question was, how do you think Alex died?
And they came back 2 days later and said, we understand that we don't think you understand what happened to your brother. You didn't sound like you knew what happened. So we wanted to explain to you that he died. And they were there present at the autopsy. And the police officer told me that he was present for the autopsy, that they did not suspect foul play. They believed it was natural causes. Alex had blood clots in his lungs on both sides. And he was a truck driver. It's common with truck drivers to get blood clots. And I don't think that, it's not that I don't think Lori and Chad are capable of murdering Alex at all. It's that I don't think that they would have the skills necessary. I don't think that they're the mastermind genius criminals, to get away with something like that. So I don't think they fooled an Emmy, and the police were very.
And this is where I disagree, because I think it's happened before, and it happened before Chad was in the picture. And I'm talking about Joe Ryan. This whole thing about the natural causes heart attack thing, I don't think so. There are totally ways that you can kill somebody where it's going to be really difficult, if not impossible, to be detected, even naturally. I mean, as you guys probably know, if you drink too much water, you can die, right? Like, I'm not saying that's what happened, but like, that is my personal opinion regarding Joe Ryan and Alex. And if Lori didn't have a direct hand in it, it was, Lori and Chad, as we heard from Zulema's interview, which we listened to yesterday, kind of coercing him into taking his own life, right? So
very active. They were actively investigating Alex at that time.
The investigation was underway. They had already exhumed Tammy's body.
Exactly.
They knew these names. While we as the public might not have known, they were
on it, and they were watching him. They knew. They were there when he died. They kept his body for several weeks and made sure they did all the testing they wanted to do, kept the samples they wanted before they released the body. And they didn't believe that it was anything but natural causes.
But you hear, and I totally hear that. And one of the detectives at one point said that may be the only coincidence in all of this, Alex's death. But you hear that patriarchal blessing.
Right. Thank you, Nate.
That Chad gave to Alex.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You hear what Alex did. I mean, with the guns, and I mean, he was likely the guy.
He was.
So it just makes you wonder. I mean,
sure.
Was there something?
And they had kind of cut him off. So they kind of abandoned him. So I think it hurt his feelings that he was abandoned at that time. From my understanding, I wasn't in contact with him at the time. But yeah, I mean, he was the guy that they turned to. But to me, I look at that and see Chad manipulating him, and Lori too. But Chad would lay his hands on his head and give him a blessing and tell him Jesus Christ was right there and command him to go do these awful things.
Remember,
and Alex,
he was Lori's protector again before Chad. We listened to this yesterday, all the stuff from Alex's ex-wife, right? And the weird relationship that Alex had with Lori. That was long before Chad ever came into the picture, long before they'd ever met. And the whole thing about tasing Joe Ryan, for example, and making threats and wanting to beat all the boyfriends, all that happened before Chad. And that was all this motivation being that he's Lori's protector, right? So, I mean, it's just
thought he was obeying, Jesus basically at that time. So it's awful. And I'm equally as mad at Alex as I am for Alex for what they did to him and what he did to the kids.
And you said in that call to Lori that if Alex was involved, which you were glad he's gone if he was. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, I think we would have more answers if he was alive. I think he would have
turned on them.
I think Alex couldn't hold everything in for that long. He would have talked. So I think if he was alive, we'd have more answers. But for myself personally, I'm glad he's gone for that reason.
At what point, Summer, do you remember
that's clear.
Realizing, because you, like we said, you went on television, you defended Chad and Lori.
I didn't defend Chad. I didn't know him.
Okay, you didn't defend Chad. You did defend Lori. Yeah, that's
yes.
right. You said she's a good mom. At what point did you realize, okay, this isn't good?
Before this all came out, when I was talking to her when she was in prison, and when the kids were missing in December, and then she went to prison in March, it could not compute in my, when I was talking to her when she was in prison, and when the kids were missing in December, and then she went to prison in March, it could not compute in my brain that she could have hurt her kids. It just didn't make sense in my mind. I'd seen her as a mother. We had been around each other. I know I could never hurt my kids, so it didn't make sense to me that a mother would do anything. And she'd always been very protective of Tylee and JJ, and I've never even seen her yell at them. Like, she was always very loving. So it didn't make any sense to me that she could have done anything to them. But it also wasn't making sense that they were nowhere. I didn't know where they would be. Who would they be with? It didn't make any sense, but I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt as a sister that I know and love. I'm giving her every benefit of the doubt that when this is all said and done, it will make sense. She will explain it to me. And I just need to have a little bit more faith in her, or,
It's literally the same thing that Lori, I mean, this interview is from like over a year ago. It's like, or almost 2 years ago, something like that. Anyway, it's still the same thing that Lori's saying, right? Like these days, like for example, right before our Arizona trial and whatnot, like talking to Colby, I can explain everything. It's the same story she's still peddling now.
I felt like I had to give her the benefit of the doubt, which I really tried to do. But the longer it went, from February, March, April, May is when I did the interview. And by then I'm thinking, well, maybe something happened and she just doesn't want to tell us. But I still couldn't wrap my brain around it at all.
And where did you think the kids were?
I had no idea. She never said a word. She wouldn't say. So I didn't know, but she just kept implying that they were safe, or she would say straight out they were safe. And so who am I to question? They're her kids. I'm thinking, you know where your kids are. And she obviously would have trusted wherever, whoever she had left them with, in my mind at the time. So I just couldn't understand it.
So then was it June 9th, 2020 that really
changed everything? That day is still the worst day of my life.
That's the day they found the children's bodies in Chad's backyard.
And my thinking went from, my sister can't possibly have done this, and Alex couldn't have possibly done this, to she'd lied the whole time to me, to her, to Colby, to her son, to.
She's admitting that.
My mom, she was lying the whole time, and we knew it. And we knew that day that we found out death penalty was on the table, we knew it was bad.
So one of the interesting things you said at CrimeCon today is that Lori was asking you to chat every 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that before this.
Yeah. So she was arrested. Was it the end of February, beginning of March?
Right. Yep.
Somewhere in that time frame. She would request for me to call her, and so I would. I talked to her. I hadn't talked to her from October. I think it was actually September was the last time I talked to her, but it was somewhere September, October-ish, that I had ended texting and calling with her, or she ended it with me rather. And then nothing. It was just crickets until she went to jail. And then she wanted to talk. And so we started talking about 2 times a week. And then when the kids were found on June 9th, crickets until June 24th.
When she sent a message saying, do you want to talk? Can you talk?
She sent me a request for, I think it was an afternoon time. And I panicked and I called my mom and I said, I can't talk to her. And she said, you don't have to. And then I got another request a couple hours later for that evening. And I just kept thinking, like, what if she wants to tell me what happened? She wants to finally explain things. Maybe she needs help and wants, to know what I think she should do. Or I didn't know what, but I felt very compelled that I had to call and find out something. But I didn't know what to say, what to do.
And you did the call.
I did the call.
And that was played in court, but you can go back and listen to it. We've got it on our YouTube channel if you want to hear it. Very, very emotional call. We played some of it today.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the communication been like since? I mean, you came to her trial.
Mm-hmm.
She smiled when you walked in. She tried to connect with you. I mean,
she did.
Has that been the only time you've seen her in person?
In person, yeah. And she can't even have visitors right now. And I don't know that I would go see her if I could. I'm not sure if I would, but she's not allowed that anyway. So it would just be video chat, which I haven't done. The communication since then, we went a couple of long months without talking at all. And then when she was in the hospital, she was calling my mom. And then my mom added me in a couple of calls when she was on with Lori. So I talked to her twice on the phone in the hospital. And then after that, it's just been text on the app.
Surface conversation?
Very, very superficial. Don't talk to her about, I've asked her, I've pressed her and asked her about things before, but most of the conversation is movie quotes, uplifting quotes,
spiritual stuff.
Church. Well, hers to me is a lot of spiritual stuff, but
you don't go there with.
I try not to go there because it's really upsetting. And I don't give more than I'm willing to lose. So if I have an expectation of what I want back, I can't go there with her. And so if I feel generous that day, I might give a little bit more in our.
Hang on, court has begun. Let me just see.
For
day 5.
State's counsel's present, the defendant's present with advisory counsel. Is your
So here's my
legal or
plan, guys.
investigator going to join you today?
This just
Yes,
this is
he's on
live.
their way, as far as I know, Your Honor.
This is live.
All right. Have you received some motions that the state filed since we were last here on Thursday?
I just did this morning, actually.
Let's make sure you have them all. So last Friday, I received from the state. What's the wrong one? Well, it was an email sent from the state to my judicial assistant, copied on the email where the advisory councils, as well as I think your paralegal. Is your paralegal Anna Ramirez?
Yes.
Okay, so she was copied on that, and that had to do with the subpoena that was served on Bobby Vallow. Have you seen that?
Oh.
I have not seen it. I did hear about it, but I did not see it.
Okay, so let me just pause this real quick. So this is live court that just started. So here's what I'm going to do. So I would, if we're going to do this, I would start a separate stream for it. So, however, I know there's lots of people streaming this. So we have two options. We could either see who the state's first witnesses are, maybe do some of it as we've done sort of other days. We've done like a part 1 and part 2, or we can just do this all in one go tonight, do the whole day in one go. Up to you guys, but because I know there's a lot of people streaming this, I know some people would maybe prefer to do this like later on tonight. And there are some benefits, right? Because then you can you can watch it on faster speed, you can fast forward through breaks. But I wanted to be ready when this went live so that we could see what was going on. So they're working on some housekeeping matters. So I was planning on watching some of these other, Lori's Inner Circle videos right up until court went live and then sort of see what was going on. So let me know if you guys have any thoughts, and we'll just go ahead and watch this for a minute here.
So we have that to address. We have a motion in limine regarding the questioning of police. Have you received that one?
I just received that one, yes.
State's third motion to preclude defendant's witnesses.
So they did not have court on Friday. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because it gives them a long weekend. And what happened apparently over the long weekend is the state filed a ton of motions, it looks like, which doesn't surprise me. I'm going to see if I can find those as well.
Have you seen that?
I just have those two, but not the first one that you mentioned.
Okay, how about motion in limine regarding the testimony?
Although having said that, Lori just got these today, so they're probably not available yet.
Video observed by Janice Cox and Summer Shiflet.
I do not have that one.
Summer Shiflet, that's who we were literally just hearing from.
All right. Do you have does advisory council have a copy of that one? No.
Here's a copy.
Okay. Are any of these issues something I need to deal with for this morning between 10 and noon?
Judge, the only thing is I would like to have, at the very least, those subpoenas that have been filed sealed, since they are in violation right now of victims' rights.
It is, in addition to the one on Robert Bobby Vallow, which other one?
The state sent an updated. We also, Brandon Boudreaux is not a victim in this
Brandon
case, but he is a victim in
Boudreaux.
2022, and his subpoena was also filed with the clerk's office.
All right, it's ordered sealing those two subpoenas. Are there the issue regarding the questioning of police or detectives about why there wasn't an arrest immediately or why it took a while for the case to be charged? Is that something it's going to come up this morning?
No.
Okay, let's deal with, I want to give you a chance to make sure you read all these. And so that's something maybe we can deal with at about 1:15 today or
lunch break
later this afternoon. But do we have our jury? My staff is out there. I know one juror was running late.
Oh. And this is why I always check.
Witness waiting in the back.
Because there's oftentimes this happens with court where there's delays, right? If one juror is running late, they can't start on time. So we'll just sort of see.
Okay, still missing a juror.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have to wait a few minutes to see if this juror.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
In case anyone's wondering why I didn't go ahead and end it, this is why. They're still waiting on a juror. So what I'm going to do, they're going to go away. There it is. There it is. Okay. So now we're going to be up. I'm going to leave it live where I have the sound on like I did before. And now we're going to go back to Summer's video interview where we were. Excellent. So we might have time to even finish this before the juror gets there. So
conversation.
Excellent.
But if I'm feeling very, guarded and reserved and upset with her, which I am a lot of days, then either I don't send anything, and I don't text every day. This is just periodically, but
so funny, right? They literally just mentioned Summer Shiflet in court, and here she is.
sometimes I'll just do literal movie quotes of movies that we both had liked and just leave it at that and not even say anything else.
Did you ever think of just cutting her off?
Yeah. Yeah. I hate what she did, but I don't hate her.
Hope so.
That's my sister. We have a history. I've seen her be a good person. And what if she comes out of this delusion one day? I don't think she will. I don't think she'll allow herself to. But if she does, then I would want to know. And so I can't bring myself to I can't live with hate in my heart. I can't do it. So I just do the best that I can with grieving her as a sister while she's still alive. Our relationship's totally different. She's not my real sister, but I still have this history and I love her for that history. And I'm never going to just be like, shut the door.
But you have no desire to talk to Chad.
As a family member, I don't know how else you can approach this, right? We heard a similar thing from Colby, right? Lori's surviving son. And it's what you call an ambiguous loss. It's when you have a person like this, and in their mind, she's not the same person. You know, she was normal all along, and then she got weird, and then she took a turn, and maybe it was Chad's influence or whatever. The family members have sort of some differing thoughts on those, but either way, that she is delusional, and you know, and it's not the same person anymore, right? It's the same body, but it's not the same person, and so they're grieving. And I understand this, right? As a family member of somebody like this, they're grieving the Lori they used to know, but the Lori is still alive, but it's not the same Lori. And so that's kind of how they're approaching this. And I understand it. I don't agree that this is what's going on with her, but I understand that as a family member, this would be like, this route would be hard enough as it is, right? To even get this far, right? And it took them a lot, like it took some of these family members, like Summer, for example, a long time to even come around to it, right? As we know, Adam, Lori's other brother, who's testified on day 4, you know, like got completely ousted from the family for before the murders and whatnot, for being like, hey, look, Lori's crazy and all this shit is harmful and da-da-da, and like expressing his concerns. And he was expressing concerns for Charles's safety, and the family cut him the fuck off, right? And it was like this whole thing of contention. And according to his testimony, they're still working on like mending the family relationship because of the divide that happened, because he was the black sheep that didn't support Lori, right? So it's a lot of crazy family dynamics. Chelsea has a murdering family member. Thank God, no. So everyone who's in California, please be safe. Let us know. And I'm just going to double check the court feed is still on break, because again, we'll hear it. I'll hear it anyway. I'll hear it when they come back, but they're still just showing the great state of Arizona thing. So we'll just continue on watching some of this.
Yeah.
None. I have talked to Chad.
Yeah, tell us about that if you can, if you want.
I mean, there's not much to say. He called me when Lori was arrested in Hawaii, and the first thing that he said to me was, there's nothing I can tell you about the kids. And he was, he's mumbly. I have a hard time hearing his voice and listening and making out the words. And I just don't have any respect for him. And I don't think that he would ever tell me the truth. So there would be 0 point in ever having a conversation with him. I think he's just void of all real emotion.
Well, there's a lot more I could ask you, but we don't have 4 hours.
We could go on.
What is the biggest thing you want people to know? Well, before we get to that, sorry. Again, there's a lot I want to ask you. What's the biggest misconception out there? Is there anything that you want to clear up?
Oh gosh, there's tons of them. There's been so many things said about our family. I can't even address them all. I just let people think what they want to think, because I know what's real and what's not. But happy to answer those questions, but I can't spend all my time doing that. I know that the last interview, I know a lot of people were upset because they thought my mom and I lied for Lori and said that we talked to JJ on October 1st, but I'll just explain that really quickly. We were in the interview. We were in a total state of shock the entire time.
Interesting.
And we're trying to just get through it the best we can. We had no preparation. We didn't know what we were going to say ahead of time. We just went in and just answered
the reason that is because JJ was dead, and they said they talked to him.
The questions, and they asked us when the last time we had spoken with Lori was. And we were like looking at each other like, I don't know, was it October? Was it September? We couldn't really remember. But we knew it was in that time frame, and we had remembered some of the calls. JJ had gotten on the phone with my mom a few times, and I had heard him in the background on a few of my calls, and I was positive it was him in the background of them. This was early September. And so we were just talking about that. And then when we got home, the station called and asked us for the phone records to show like when our calls were. And the most recent, like the last call my mom had with Lori was on October 1st, and it was about an hour long. So, you know, it seemed reasonable that that was the time she spoke with JJ.
You cannot make that type of fucking statement because that is changing proof of life, dude.
But she didn't really remember talking to him specifically on that day. And she wasn't trying to say, I talked to him on that day.
Right.
You know, it was just, we think it was.
She's got plausible deniability there, but you know the only reason they said that was to try to prove the proof of life. So
it was around this time.
I see. So, and of course, we know sadly that JJ and Tylee were both gone by October 1st.
Yes.
It had been a few weeks. So, wasn't September 8th the last time you talked to Lori before all this?
Well,
or the day that you learned they moved?
It was the day that I learned they moved. So when after Charles had been shot, she had told me that her landlord wanted her out at the end of August. And I'm like, where are you going to go? And what are you going to do? And she told me that she was going to move back in with Alex. Her and Tylee and JJ were going to move back in with Alex. They had stayed with him before they rented that house. And so they were going to go back there. And we went over and helped them pack up their house and assumed that's where they were headed. My mom spent time with Tylee packing up her room. And as far as my mom knew and what it seemed Tylee knew is that was the plan. My mom said, if you don't want to go to Alex's, you can stay with me. And Tylee said she wanted to be with her mom. And so the next day is when they actually moved. And I called to say, can we come help you move? And she said, no, we got it. We already are on the road. And then, so I was texting all that week saying, do you guys want to come over for dinner? I know it's hard to move and, you know, make meals. And she just kept saying, we have stuff going on. We're busy, and little excuses. And so then she called on September 8th. And sorry. My parents were over. We had everybody.
So guys, court is back. Now we will have time, I'm sure, to finish this because there will be delays and there will be breaks in the sidebars and whatnot. But what I'm going to do here in just a second, I just have to set it up to redirect you guys. It'll redirect you directly into that stream right now for today in trial in court. So let me just get this, click the little button real quick here. Just one sec. Through the magic of technology, it should redirect, save, okay. It should work. If it doesn't, you should be able to see it there. It's going to be day 5 of the trial. So, okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and switch on over to that one. So I'm going to roll the outro here in just a sec. And I will have this pulled up. We can continue with this when we have another break, but love y'all. See you guys here in just a second.